to episode 11 of the Behind the Beacon podcast. I'm your host, Seth Orensky. The semester is almost done, so let's all finish strong. Monday, December 14th is the final day to withdraw from a course. The 14th is also the final day of classes this semester. Last but not least, finals begin on Wednesday, December 16th and run until Monday, December 21st. Our first guest this week is women's basketball alum Katrina Edwards. Edwards graduated in 2017 as the program's all-time leader in games played after playing in all 108 games over her 4 years. The problem was when she graduated, she wasn't sure what she wanted to do. After working 3 jobs her first year out of college, Katrina decided to sit down and focus on what she actually wanted to do professionally. 3 years later, Katrina is in her 3rd year of teaching 7th grade science in Houston, Texas. She discussed her life goal to open a community center, the transition in becoming a teacher, and what it's like teaching and working in an extremely diverse school. I'm joined by Umass Boston women's basketball alum Katrina Edwards. Katrina, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Katrina, right now you're in Houston, Texas as a teacher, but that was not what you studied in college. Out of college, you were working a couple different positions, and then a conversation with a former teammate kind of changed your trajectory. Can you tell me about that conversation you had with Tajay Burston?
Tajay was my point guard in college. He was actually my best friend from my hometown, Springfield, Mass. And me and Tajay, we were actually both biology majors. And we were just trying to figure out what are we going to do when we graduate. I'm pretty sure that's a big question that all of us had. Not all of us had, this idea of what our life was going to be like after college, especially a student athlete. You've been playing sports all your life. We were trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? Are we going to go into nursing? Are we going to work in labs? What are we going to do? And it was one day I had an epiphany, and I sat and thought, what am I most passionate about? Because I'm not a person where I can't just get up and go to work every day. I have to love what I do. And I realized that I loved 3 things. That's fitness, sports, food. So I love nutrition and health. And I love kids. I love working with kids. So I figured whatever I do, it needs to involve those 3 things. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I should start a community center, some type of program where I'm kind of running things, because I can get a little bossy. I kind of do my own thing sometimes. However, I'm also really big on being a teammate and being a team player. So Tajay actually told me about this program called Teacher America. And she was saying, we can basically teach in any state. This is a program that we can finally just get out of Boston and explore a different city and teach and just try something different. I could start a career at least. I could be working with kids. I can at least use the education system to get involved in what I want with fitness and health. So maybe starting a program within the education system, and I can explore a different city. That was the green light for me. So I applied, I got in, and Houston was actually my first choice. And they sent me to Houston, 3 years ago. And ever since then, I've been teaching.
What was that transition like as someone who grew up in Massachusetts, went to UMass Boston, to a huge city like Houston, and also doing something? You're a teacher. I think you get a couple months of training, and then all of a sudden you're in a classroom. So you have 2 huge different parts of that transition. How was that first year of teaching like, and kind of what helped you get through year 1 of teaching as a 7th grade middle school teacher?
It was a huge difference for me. I had no idea what I was getting into when I decided I wanted to join Teacher America and I wanted to teach. I'm thinking, I've seen teachers all my life get in front of the classroom, teach a subject, and it looked pretty easy to me. I'm just like, this is going to be a walk in the park. No idea what I was in for. It was stressful. There was times that I cried, especially my first year. Oh my God. I cried. It was really sad, but at the same time, at the end of my first year, I did feel like I did this and I could do this. And it got easier as time went. But coming from Massachusetts, where again there's a little bit of a different demographic. I didn't even realize there were so many different ethnicities. And then I even had a lot of kids from like Africa. It was so mind blowing, and yet like I loved it because I was learning from all of these different kids, all of these different things. Like it was great, but at the same time, it was stressful. Like it was definitely eye opening my first year.
Your school really promotes diversity. What impact do you think that's had on you and your students, having so many diverse people both within the staff and within the student population?
It has impacted me in such a positive way. I think growing up, I didn't see a lot of diversity in my teachers. And the fact that even just the staff that I work with at my school, there are so many different cultures and ethnicities of people. Like there's a lot of Hispanic teachers, there's a lot of Black teachers, and just to be around that, it makes me feel so good. It makes me feel like I belong. And imagine just what that's doing for the kids, right? Seeing someone of your color, of your ethnicity, in a position, in a higher position, in a position that's over you and teaching you and impacting you, what is that doing for you? It's telling me that, or telling the student, right, that I could be in your position. I could move on to even a higher caliber, you know what I mean? Just because I see you here. I also work with a lot of people that are doing things outside of school, like starting their own businesses, and just being around those people. It's really helped me realize that no matter what, if there's anything that I want to do, I can put my mind to it. And then they're also super supportive with helping me get there, reaching out to their colleagues or people that they know that are doing something similar to what I'm ultimately interested in, making sure that we're connected, and networking is absolutely not a problem with the people I work with. So it's just really helpful to be around people that make you feel like you fit in, feel wanted, and ultimately loved. Like I really do love working with the people on my campus, people that I work with. And we actually consider each other family, so I love it there.
Year one, you're obviously learning what it is to be a teacher. What did you kind of learn as you got towards the end of year one and into year two about what your style of teaching is? Because every teacher has a different focus or a different goal of what they want to do. What is your style in your 7th grade science class?
I wouldn't say I'm your typical teacher. I'm like one of the kids. Like, I look at the kids as if they're, I'm dealing with 12, 13-year-olds that think they know it all, right? So I talk to them and I work with them as if they're me. I don't look down on them. There's times where they're teaching me things, and I'm definitely, I guess I would consider the fun teacher, especially in science where you're doing labs. We're doing all these like different activities that they're not used to, like hands-on things. There's not just sit and get. A lot of the things that I teach is I also make it very relatable for them. Like I meet them where they're at. I'm definitely not one of those old school teachers where it's kind of just sit down, we're working with this word on the board with the rulers. Like, no, we're moving around. Sometimes we're dancing. Like if I got kids falling asleep, all right, we got 10 push-ups right now. Let's get it. You know what I mean? That usually wakes them up and kind of gets them activated. We're right back to doing our notes or our activity. Like I'm very energized with my classes, and they can tell you that. Like the kids absolutely love me. There's times where I have to like kick them out because it's just like, you got to go. This is not your class period. It's time to go to your next class. So I'm definitely one of those teachers.
And then year 3 hits and you have the pandemic. What has teaching during a pandemic been like? What's kind of the dynamic between, are you guys in person? Are you guys fully remote? What has that been like as a teacher, adjusting on the fly to something that's totally new?
Teaching is difficult this year. I'm pretty sure every teacher can agree with me. Teaching has been, it's been a learning experience, and a lot of us definitely have a huge learning curve, especially dealing with technology. Um, for the school that I'm at and the district that I'm in, we're doing in person and virtual. So students or parents can opt in to have their students come in person, and or they can choose to stay virtual. Um, it's super tough on the teachers, the parents, and the kids. Engagement is really hard to get with these kids, especially being at home where you have your TV going and your music going, or you have other kids sitting at home with you that are also being taught virtually. Uh, for parents that never had to sit with their child um, all day at home or really like see what they're learning or help them with their schoolwork, that's been tough on them because they're used to just sending them off to school and then having us pretty much help them educationally, and for them to see what it's like to really be a teacher. It's also been really eye-opening for the parents as well. For teachers, like I said, it's been tough. It's really hard to get the student engagement. um, it's really hard, especially science. Science is such a hands-on course and class that it's hard to keep them engaged in that way. It's hard to do anything that is hands-on, kinesthetic. Even like the kids that are in person, every kid has to sit 6 feet apart. In some classes they have like the glass divider, where it's just like it looks pretty depressing when you walk into the class. Like the kids aren't laughing and hanging out with each other. It's kind of sad just how things have to be. But we are working through it. The teachers are really doing the best they can. I'm doing the best I can with, trying to, if it's not videos that I'm using in class for content for them to learn, then I'm doing a lab with kids in class where it's just either me displaying the lab and showing, okay, this is how you do it, and that's kind of keeping them involved. Or I've done labs where we've done exercises where we're talking about the muscular and skeletal system and how like different bones and muscles are being used. And I'm also having them try it at home. We're kind of working through this pandemic virtually with different assimilations, but it is tough.
What steps have you taken towards that goal of being an entrepreneur and opening your own health and fitness program? How have some of the people that you work with helped you towards that goal?
I wanted to use math and science to start my health program, right? So I did actually get some funding through AMP, and that was when it was supposed to be this year that I was supposed to start the after school program, which again can't really happen because COVID. But that's what I did start already. I have started looking into taking personal training courses so that I can start personal training on the side. I took a grant writing class in the summer of 2019 to help me starting a 501c3, or nonprofit. And I do have some of that. I do have like a business plan out. I have started a business plan for that as well.
My last question, my UMass Boston women's basketball question, and hopefully the toughest question, is who was your favorite teammate on the women's basketball team?
Is that a real question?
It's a real question.
I don't know if I can answer that because I still pretty much talk to everyone. I have to pick one person.
2 max.
All right, I'm gonna have to go. My Raven Kelsey and Tajay Burson. Those were the two people that First of all, Tajay was my point guard. Had to catch the ball. Had to get the ball, right? And then I had Raven Kelsey. You know, sometimes we did play the same position, but I just loved how I loved our friendship off the court, and then I loved how we pushed each other on the court. Um, so I'm gonna say those two. I'm gonna say those two. Not only because of our relationship on the court, our drive. Um, Again, on and off the court, we were always motivating each other. Okay, what are we trying to do next? Okay, let's get these extra shots up in the gym. And we were just always open and honest with each other and just wanted the best in each other. So I'm going to say those are my two favorite players from UMass Boston basketball or women's basketball.
Katrina, it's been great hearing a little bit about your story and hearing your goal, because it's a great goal, and it seems like you're certainly taking some steps towards it. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. See you guys later.
That was my interview with Katrina Edwards. Katrina is in her third year of teaching at Fondren Middle School in Houston, Texas. Fondren has an extremely diverse student population, with Hispanic and Black students making up over 90% of the student body. Before we get to our next interview, I'd like to dig a little deeper on one of the On This Date posts from this past week. On December 3rd, 2013, Olivia Murphy put together one of the best performances in women's basketball program history. The sophomore forward tied the program record with 33 points despite not playing the final 11 minutes and 16 seconds of the game. Murphy not only tied Carolyn Lewis and Jamila Gale's record for points scored, but she also set a new program high mark by making 15 field goals in one game. Murphy finished the contest 15-22 in just 26 minutes of action. She also added 12 rebounds in the 79-41 victory over Mount Ida College. Murphy ended her career 2 years later as one of the top players in school history. She still ranks as the program record holder in career points with 1,546 and also owns the career record for made field goals. She sits in the top 5 in program history for career rebounds, blocks, and field goal percentage. Now let's turn to our second guest. Baseball alum Alex Karasoto and his former teammate Kevin Donati opened up Rip City Academy, a baseball and softball training facility, in November of 2019. After several other facilities of their kind closed in Berkshire County, the pair wanted to help foster and promote the skills of the players in Pittsfield and the entire area. After being in business for just over a year now, Alex talked about the goals of Rip City Academy, how the business has grown, and their new enhanced role in recruiting due to the constraints of the pandemic. I'm joined by UMass Boston baseball alum Alex Karasoto. Alex, how are you doing?
How's it going, Seth? I'm doing great.
Going great, Alex. I want to start, you and your former high school teammate and current roommate, Kevin Donati, have created Rip City Academy, but it all started with Rip City. That was something that both you and Kevin attended as a kid. What was that experience like, and why did it make you guys feel like you needed to have something available like that for the current population of Berkshire County?
When we were growing up, Rip City was pretty much a home for us. We were able to go there whenever we wanted to, it was an amazing experience, obviously, having that. And Buddy was a mentor to almost every baseball player in Berkshire County back then. Growing up in that environment, you obviously see how a facility operates, and making people feel like they belong there is super important. And having that place that you go to is super important. And before we opened up there, we kind of lost that in Berkshire County a little bit. There wasn't really a designated place where people were training, and we kind of wanted to bring that back and make it happen again.
The original Rip City was created by George Pellerin, your partner Kevin's grandfather, and he was huge for both baseball and softball in Pittsfield. What does it mean for you as a Pittsfield native, a Taconic High School grad, to be able to fill in those shoes and to be able to do something for Pittsfield, which has a strong athletic background? We've seen numerous people come out of Pittsfield and become Beacon student athletes over the last even 5 to 10 years.
I mean, I think carrying on what he started, how much he cared about kids and their future. He was a high school teacher too. So he would spend time around kids. And, I've heard stories from people who even, were parents of kids who are coming here. And it's like, one dad was like, I used to wrestle for Pittsfield High, and Buddy was my teacher. and he knew I was wrestling in the state tournament, and he drove all the way to Boston to watch me wrestle. Now, I don't know if Buddy knew a thing about wrestling, but he did know he wanted to support that kid. And, you know, we kind of want to carry that on and be able to support these kids and push them in the right direction and get them to a college where they feel comfortable. And, you know, and for some of the kids who come here, they're already in college, and some of them want to play professional baseball. We have one professional athlete at our facility. He's with the Cardinals. And, you know, everyone's just training for that next goal. Everyone's looking at the next step, and we can kind of act as a guide in like how to get there.
So the other facility that was kind of close to Pittsfield closed, and all of a sudden people are traveling hours to get to a baseball facility. How did you and Kevin kind of come up with the idea to start something like that, especially as a pair of guys who have baseball backgrounds and strength and conditioning backgrounds, but no business background, and now you're taking on this large-scale venture?
With AP Academy closing out in I want to say Springfield there, East Longmeadow, I think they were located. There was a ton of kids here who were playing on those travel teams, and they were, you know, a couple times a week, they were driving an hour and 15 minutes to make that happen. And, you know, we liked the stuff they were doing there. They had a really, Pete Fatsy's now, I think he's with the Red Sox now. He's a hitting coordinator with them, I believe. So they were in good hands there. And we knew that they needed a place to train. And there's a ton of talent coming up in Pittsfield right now. And we knew that coming in. So I think making it happen, we were super excited because, you know, knowing we were going to have all these great athletes training with us was going to be, you know, a really good experience. And I think, you know, we developed some relationships before we opened with those kids, and we wanted them to feel comfortable training with us once we opened. You know, obviously with Kevin and I not having a business background, but having a background in facilities in general, we knew how we wanted it to look and how we wanted it to operate. You know, obviously when you first open, there's going to be bumps in the road, but staying organized with the schedule, upcoming events, you know, we're already planning things for the summer and fall right now. I think staying on top of that is super important, and I'm really excited. We're going to do 4 summer teams this summer, you know, with everything with COVID. Hopefully it all works out, but we're really excited for that.
Kevin gets back from Maryland last fall and had worked in a really strong facility down there, comes back, and all of a sudden you guys decide to kind of go for it. What was that process like leading up to your opening last November? You know,
I think being exposed to some really cool technology down in Maryland, specifically Karasoto, it's a device that shows you, you know, launch angle, distance, your speed. I know Coach Eigenbrot's familiar with it. It's blowing up like crazy right now. Bringing that back here and putting it on a TV for people to see, I think it was eye-opening for a lot of people around here, because now we have some measurables to go along with it. Like, hey, we're going to improve your swing and we're going to show you some results, and you're going to be able to see it on the screen next to you. I think that was super important. And, you know, obviously Kev having a background with On Base U, he got certified there. We take them through a little mobility screen when they come in, and we can, you know, change the way their body is moving to kind of manipulate their swing a little bit and make it more of what we're looking for. And I think that's been a huge, and showing it with the results on the Karasoto, when we make a change, it's like, hey, if something's not working, we can see it with the numbers. And, you know, we try not to get too wrapped up in the numbers, but at the end of the day, you know, that's what a lot of people are looking for.
You open on November 4th, 2019, and because of the COVID pandemic, you're forced to close March 23rd, March 25th of 2020. What were you able to accomplish in those first couple of months? What were you able to learn before all of a sudden the government kind of says, okay, you can't do anything with this business. You're not allowed to go in. You're not allowed to have any of your clients. What were you two able to actually accomplish in those first couple of months before your time out?
You know, we had huge expectations going in, and I remember being there our first week we opened. We had 4 clients, and we're like, we got to figure out ways to get guys in. And so we started to change things up a little bit. And, you know, one by one, kids are coming in, word's spreading a little bit. We're starting to gain some momentum, and then it just got exponential. And all of a sudden, a bunch of people are coming in. And that word of mouth is traveling throughout the county. And we even had some people driving in over an hour to come train with us. We ended up being on the other side of that. And, by the time March rolled around, we had a ton of momentum going into the season. Obviously, it would have been our off season. And then that shutdown happening, it put things into perspective for us. And we were like, well, we got a really good client base now. We're really excited to get back open when we can. But it gave us a little bit of time to kind of take a breather, plan some things out, and see where we want to go with this and where we want to take this. And I think it's been super exciting now that we're back in and we had that time to plan and see exactly what direction we're going to take.
So you reopen in July, and a lot of younger groups were playing baseball. Not as many college season, summer leagues closed, minor leagues obviously closed, but a lot of high school and maybe a little bit older groups were able to play. How was getting your teams out there in a safe manner? What was that process like, and what was it like for you guys to put your athletes out on display and to have some success? I think you guys won at least one, if not two tournaments.
We ended up having 2 fall ball teams, and we wanted it to be super competitive. Our older team had, I want to say, at the end of the year, it ended up being like 6 Division I commits on the team. And we were really excited about that because the product on the field was incredible. Obviously, with the COVID side of things, it was like, coaches weren't going to be there. So we had to make sure that things were being recorded. At-bats were being recorded. We were able to send those out to coaches. And then also, with playing that level of competition, having that level of competition on your team, there were some professional scouts at some of our games, and we were like, this is a real thing now. We have some dudes here. And that was, it was crazy to see, right? And as a coach, you take a step back and you're like, wow, like this product it's exactly what we imagined.
Is your role more than ever now with COVID, with the limited ability for coaches to travel, to contact people, in putting your athletes out there in a spot where they can get recruited and spotlighting them as much as possible? Is that something that was always going to be the goal, or is it even more of the goal right now where recruiting is so limited and so different than it's ever been before?
Recruiting is still changing as we're talking right now. We don't know if coaches are going to be able to go out. There's always massive tournaments in the summer. Our 17U team's going down to Georgia this year. And those tournaments are huge. They're 140 team tournaments. A lot of people have this misunderstanding about the recruiting process where it's like, oh, this coach is just going to see me play without me reaching out to them beforehand. Not really true. There's normally a lot of conversations that go on before you even get seen by a coach or they even show interest in wanting to watch you play. And so right now, with only being able to send video, coaches have told us, like, be annoying about it. Like, send us everything you have on this kid because this is all we have to really watch him.
You list your goal on the website is to see baseball grow in Pittsfield and to see college players fulfill their dreams of playing college baseball. It seems like next week you're going to have that first Division I commit. What does that mean to you and Rip City Academy to have that under your belt and to help that student athlete reach that goal?
Yeah, during COVID especially, we're constantly talking with coaches and we're seeing where their head's at about some of our guys, and having like our first guy kind of like the weight off his shoulders. Like now that, you don't have to stress about, does a school really want me? I think that's the biggest thing for him, and we're super excited for him. That'll probably be out on our website. We'll be posting that everywhere, but I think I'm more happy for him than anything because he's the one who's putting in the work and making that happen. All we're doing is kind of acting as that middleman. Is like, hey, this kid's really good. You should take a look at him. And he's the one making that work. So really happy for him.
Going back to your own career, I want to talk a little bit about UMass Boston baseball. My first question is, what was it like being the final pitcher in the 2018 Little East Conference Championship as a senior. The game was a little bit out of doubt. The Beacons had a pretty large lead, but to be able to get back onto the field at Monin one last time, and to be the guy who got to close it out.
You know, I think I was grateful for Coach Agbro giving me that opportunity. I love playing at Monin Park, as anyone does. I mean, every Beacon loves it. And being able to just kind of be a part of that last run, and obviously closing out any game, not even a conference championship, is a great feeling, you know, and it's just being huddled up with your teammates at the end is like, we made this happen. You know, we went from being our first year, we were like right around 500 to being the #1 team in the country. Senior year was like, you guys earned this. And that was a really good feeling.
My last question, and typically the hardest question in one of these interviews, is who was your favorite teammate throughout your 4 years? This doesn't have to be your best friend in college, because I know who that was, but who was the guy who you enjoyed being teammates with the most?
I think everyone expects me to say Whitco, Steve Wachowski, and I'd have to say it is him, but I think I was just so close. And honestly, that was a huge culture change when we got there. Is we were so close with everybody. And the more you're winning and the more you're spending time around your teammates, you create that bond in the weight room, in study hall, in, you know, everything. You know, that whole senior class with Brian Kaufman, Sal, you know, Dave Murphy, you know, Fowler and Josh Lopez. I mean, I know he graduated the year after, but, you know, I was super close with all those guys because we'd been through it all with Beacons baseball. And, you know, I think, you know, and even the year below us, you know, they had that incredible class. I was pretty much close with everybody. You know, we wanted to act as a family, and obviously with that winning mentality, we became so close.
Well, Alex, thanks so much for your time. Good luck with that news that you're expecting to get next week. I'm sure that'll be huge for you guys, and that word of mouth. And good luck getting many more of those college commitments, whether it's D1, D2, or maybe even some UMass Boston D3.
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Seth. Hey, guys, if you get a chance, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Rip City Academy. And if you want to check out our website, ripcityacademy.net, you know, anyone who's trying to, you know, push their baseball game to the next level out in Western Mass, shoot them our way.
Rip City Academy currently offers baseball and softball training for both individuals and groups, along with access to the facility's batting cages. Karasoto works with the group's pitchers and does strength and conditioning, in addition to being the lead scheduler for the facility. That's all for episode 11 of the Behind the Beacon podcast. Make sure to tune in next week for our final episode of the semester.